invite Dr. Intandara Skill and organizing Department of English to welcome the academic day to organization.
I invite Pastor to welcome you all. The second day plenary session of International Conference. First and foremost, I welcome the chairperson of today's plenary session, our Honorable Department of K. Ravichandran. Thank you, sir. And I also welcome our Professor from the University, the chair, the resource person of the session, plenary session, Dr. Saravanan, the Department of English, IIT University. Thank you, sir. And the incoming department, gratitude to all the participants, scholars, presenters, students, educators, and the entrance faculty. Your contribution. And the Honorable Department, Dr. Balasekhar, sir. Thank you, sir. Your contributions define new perspectives and inspire transformative insights and resonate far beyond the conference of the conference. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Welcome Dr. V. Saravanan, an assistant professor, senior grade in the Department of English, School of Social Science and Languages at Vellore Institute of Technology, Vellore. He did his master's and MPhil at Presidency College, Chennai. He got his PhD from Anna University, Chennai in English language teaching on the role of English in engineering graduates placement study. He has 20 years of teaching experience and has published a number of papers in national, international, and Scopus industry journals. He has also presented a number of papers in national and international conferences of repute widely in the areas of ELT, literature, communication skills, and soft skills. Besides its contribution in publication, also includes book chapters and conference proceedings. He has attended a significant number of workshops, faculty development programs, conferences, and seminars for his professional development. He has conducted several development programs and better classroom management, better teaching methodologies, soft skills, life skills, English language teaching, employability skills, communicative language teaching, use of ICT in education, vocabulary enhancement, poetry writing, and writing of research. He has worked as a placement officer and has conducted placement training programs at various engineering and arts and science colleges. He gives career guidance and motivational talks for his school and college students. He also conducts programs on the art of parenting for the parents. He conducts yoga, meditation, pranayama, mudra, naturopathy workshops, neuro-linguistics programming, NLP workshops for general public. He is the founder and coordinator of World English Language Learners, Teachers and Trainers Association, WELTA, an international forum of professional development and sharing English language learning skills and better learning and teacher training program practice. Now we invite Dr. V. Saravanan, Assistant Professor, Senior Grade, School of Social Science and Languages, Vellore Institute of Technology, Vellore, to deliver the
morning everybody. எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். கேக்குறீங்களா? This is our culture. We will start with cultural diversity and social reality. I am greatly indebted to Professor Kanadasan for inviting me for this 2 days international conference at the esteemed university, and I am equally grateful to Professor Ramchandran sir for facing the occasion and carrying the dais with me, and it is equally delighted to have such an elite gathering in front of me. I am so very humbled and honored to stand before you to talk about the cultural diversity and social reality in the contemporary literature. I'm where to begin? You wonder now, what is cultural diversity? Let's say you look at these 5 fingers, are they equal? Which one is the best finger? Which one is the which one you consider the meanest, right? Which is not significant, which is insignificant? Can you tell me? Which one? Let us have it now, very interesting interactive session. Which one you consider? Otherwise, we have 2 eyes. Which one is the best one? I want one eye, one of your eyes. Which one you give me? First of all, you will not give me. Same goes with the culture. Every culture is most indispensable, I would say, whether it is the marginalized culture, Dalit literature, otherwise the so-called Brahmin literature. We talk about, yesterday we had a paper session on food studies. There we talk about prasada. Prasada means what? Prasada means the divine food people talk about. Otherwise, we talk about Adivasi literature. Name anything and everything. There is a lot to learn. Every culture is ours. That's what India is known for. You take from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. Diverse culture we have. 19,000 plus languages we speak. Out of which only 18 languages are being recognized as the official language of the Indian constitution. You get me what I am telling? But it doesn't mean that we are not deviating the 19,800 plus languages. Please understand that. Why we have recognized only 18? Why not the rest? Means everything is ours, everything is important. But there is some significance for these 18 languages. So again, we will go back to this. Who are the writers? Why should people write? And why people talk about culture? Because culture and humanity is inseparable. Please understand it. Whatever I think, whatever I speak, whatever I do, whatever I write, especially, that becomes my culture. And whatever I think, whatever I speak, and again whatever I do, that becomes my culture, and again my character. First, know what is character? Character is the repeated activities of a particular human being. And again, how a thought pattern comes before action. That is, action is preceded by the thought. What is the thought pattern? Thought pattern is all about. Now the latest science says thought pattern is all about the food we consume. There is an interconnectivity between food and the thought we nurture. Please understand. That's how we find that plenty of different plenty of varieties, again different cultures we have in our Indian part. Please understand this. So let us deep and dive deep into the concept of cultural diversity, especially when we talk about cultural diversity. Who has captured in the canvas, the big canvas of Indian writing literature is our none other than our R.K. Narayan. For let's say it starts with the story Malgudi Days, otherwise the man in front of Malgudi. Take the stories, otherwise you take the novels. Let's say the pain of these see first let's say the painter character. And again you take for example the other English teacher. It depicts completely how an ordinary English teacher sits back and reflects his own activities the transaction it does exactly inside the classroom, and what kind of emancipation, otherwise the transformation you like to bring in. Whether it is going for a walk, otherwise waking up at the same 4 o'clock in the morning, his routines, his activities, how he is preparing, and he is telling repeatedly what is that? See, I have been repeatedly doing the same thing for the past 30 years. I am so very vexed with the practices of my own thing. That is how he is depicting the character of an English teacher. Please understand this one again. No, it is an interesting concept. How, as a writer, our R.K. Narayan depicts. Think about leave alone R.K. Narayan. Think about his counterpart. Who's that one? R.K. Lecter. Through the cartoon stage. It is not about only writing alone. It is all about whatever we do. The cartoon stage are eternal teachers of cultural diversity, and it depicts exactly the human nature and human activities, and again caricatures whatever R.K. Lecter has made. So whatever thing you go and see, people have done research on R.K. Lecter's this cartoon center. So this is a eternal way of looking at the same cultural diversity from a different lens. That is there. And think about the Juma Lagiri's interpret of melodies. See the how he has captured everything in her writings, especially the stories, novels. You find that the various ways and means of capturing the human activities in the through their minds, and again, with a wonderful mindset and capturing each and every activities, and especially the nature of the people and the characters they come across, and whatever they want to see in this world through their pen, that's through their writings, teaching the a wonderful word, choice of words. They make the things happen by creating an awareness again through the writings, then again through the cartoons, through the poems, through novels, through, let's say, even art and culture, let's say through dramas, and even you take for example Arundhati Roy. Otherwise, this man we have our Canadian right, Karnataka, that dramatic. Girish Karnad, not only Girish Karnad. See, Girish Karnad has one step he has gone ahead. Acting movies like Father and you see, doesn't stop there. He's directed movies and he's a wonderful director, screenplays and stage plays. Not even stage plays, street plays. You know what is street play? Street play is a culture. You find that during our festivals, especially what are the festivals we do? Recently we had Shivratri, and day after tomorrow we are going to have Holi. All colorful events. So all these things depicts what exactly the way we live, and the way we live, and the way we transact, the way we believe. It exhibits, it proclaims our belief system, our activity, and the way we conduct ourselves. Let's go deep into the, let's say again, literature. When we talk about R.K. Narayan again, you think about the other characters in the painter of thing, you see the thing, the painter of time, you see how an ordinary painter, how he nurtures his desire to become great in life, and how he is again going deep into how he runs a press, how he is coming up with what is that his magazine, the dedication, and again his prior relationship with his wife and the kids, and the talent, and the relationship between the talent and the landlord. Everything you see, everything is capturing in a very finest way possible. So think about the stories, the characters, everything reflects the cultural diversity of Indian cinema. To say, for example, every 100 meters, how many? I'm telling, quoted by some other writers, as we speak. Every 100 meters we have diversity in our culture. Otherwise, I would rather say, with every individual, the culture is different. You look at your neighbors, the way they have dressed themselves, think about look at their hairstyle, the way they keep their building, otherwise the way they dress, the language they speak, the food they eat, and the way they treat the people. Treating is a culture. It is there in our Indian tradition. We don't bow, but we hold our hands and treat people. If we go to China, they went, Malaysia, Thailand, we go, they do it in a different way. Go to USA, they will say hello, hi. They don't raise their hands. Get me what I am telling? Just for the salutation, otherwise we have varieties. So that is how we live. It's not only that seeing the greener side of the greener aspects of the world, but also the other side of the life. Let's say now recently we have heard, still we are having what? The Ukraine war. You see what is happening. This is what social reality. We talk about everything goody in the paper and the printing media, social media, everything. Whereas when it comes to reality, we are not able to accommodate our own friends, our own family members, our own wife, say our wife, our kids. We don't gel with the people. It is the depiction of the reality. Please understand it. That is how people know. We see in the recent past, we have had a beautiful poem. Mercy, pity, peace, and love. It talks about the what is that? Compassion. How people should be compassionate with the nature, with the people, otherwise the fellow human being. You see, mercy, pity, peace, and love. Why it is a mercy, pity, peace, and love? It is nothing but to bring in a similarity of the real world. Let's say the recent past we have had Valalar. Valalar, no, body and payre kanda podala body. What is that? It is nothing but compassion. Same thing you can draw by repeat. Again, you see, ஒத்தது அறிவான் உயிர் வாழ்வான் மற்றையோர் செத்தார்கள் வைக்கப்படும். Bhagavad is telling this. ஒத்தது அறிவான் means I am nothing, no way different from a one cell amoeba, with 2 cells, 3 cells, 5 cells, then again 6th cell. Let's say 1 cell, 2 cells, 3 cells, 5, 4, and 5 and 6. And that is where the birth of ego criticism, otherwise ego religion has born. Please understand this. It is none other than it is there in the Bhakti literature. Bhakti literature of all, let's say the entire world. Now don't think that only Bhakti literature is in only Islamic culture or in Western culture. It is not at all. You go to USA, UK, otherwise let's say Ireland, we have what? Wonderful Bhakti literature. What is that? Stories. The churches, people used to tell stories from it. Stories, they wanted to define the human beings, their character, their activities, their well-being. They wanted to protect. That is how the literature has come into place. Please understand. Storytelling, wonderful storytelling. Why people used to go to the churches? Because the literature was the birthplace. This church was the birthplace for all the literature, I would say. That's what. So originally, Bible was written in Hebrew language. You know that. They came the translating studies. You see the thing. So study of translation. Then again, from Hebrew language, then you know that Henry VII, what he did was again, he wanted to go for the second marriage. That is how English churches came into place. You know the history of total history of England. Please know, just it is something like no, compare and see how it has gone. Then how accommodative and inclusive is our culture, the human culture. You see, somebody is fighting with someone, okay, you are also welcome. You want to see, I want to go and have a different church, you are welcome. I say, God is there, you are welcome. I say, God is not there, you are welcome. How inclusive it is? That is much social reality. But are we accommodating, friendly? Then again, or do we appreciate the neighbors? Do we appreciate our mind? Do we appreciate our children? Because of their difference of opinion. You get me what I am telling? This is how this social reality to evolve. That's why this cultural diversity is depicted in different forms and different genre. Please understand the thing. Whether it is poetry, prose, then novel, there is even short story, even drama, speed play, cinema, my social media. Now we have social media handles in our hand. So now the whole world has become what? So very small. The global village, we live in the world of Yes, global village. You see, anything you want to publish, you can write as a blog. You can be a blogger. You can write your poems. You can write your views. Let's say somebody is posting a picture. We get likes, dislikes. Then again, you write comments. You critique it. Get me what I am telling? This is what our culture is. Now you see the trend. Only the trend has changed, but the activities have not been changed. Human beings are human beings. Let us understand the concept. That is the thing. So the culture you see now. Think about, let us say, Indian writing. Okay, think about Jawaharlal Nehru writing by letters to the daughter. Beautiful way of what is that? Connecting, otherwise establishing a bond between the father and the daughter. Is there any other way of connecting with people in those days? Let's say 50 years back, 60 years back, 40 years back. That's what the culture. So he wrote letters to Indira Gandhi. Then that has become a wonderful interest. You get me? Now, gone are the days that writing a letter. Do we write letters now? But we use social media handles to say hi, hello, and again anything instantaneously. We share our views, thoughts, and mind, and whatever we like. Our life is a district. That has become the trend now. So let us understand the logic behind this kind of evolving way of this social reality. So no more writing in the canvas, but rather we use the digital tool to depict the society and its transaction at all. Let's say now we will go to the international scenario. Think about Bangladesh, and again India. India and Bangladesh, we are together. But think about the people as immigrants. We don't want to accept, neither they too don't want to accept. Because this kind of border issues. So same way, think about the West Bengal issue. Then again, think about the migrants, the people, those who suffered during the Corona time. These are all the things. Just I would like to know. Use your mind to think about what has happened in the past, recent past, the distant past, and just to let us compare and contrast, and we will have a better level of understanding of the social diversity and let's say cultural diversity. So what happened? So the international scenario is what again? Think about Pakistan and India. We say Salman Rushdie is the best writer, and people have awarded what Booker Prize, and again all the awards, and again internationally acclaimed writer. But India has accepted, let's say, but virtually it is not possible for the human beings to accept that a different a person with a different mindset and a different thought process. That is what the thing. So are we accommodating? Are we living in an inclusive society? Think about the different see when it comes to social diversity and cultural diversity and the social reality. This is what the reality is. Anybody who is going against the current will not be accepted. Say for example, think about Socrates. Socrates was the greatest philosopher. How he was how he had, what kind of life he had, what was his final day. He was poisoned to death. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, then again Peterson. You take any of the philosophers, greatest of the greatest philosophers, how they made the and again think about the latest thinkers, whether it is the recent Osho. Think about Osho. Anybody who lived in the society with a different notion, different thought process, and Osho was a professor in a university in the North India. Then what happened? Osho was not welcomed by our Indian people, so he was sent abroad. Then he was there in USA having 65,000 plus acres of land. Are you all thinking what I am saying is clear? Makes sense to you, please? So 65,000 of acres of land. Then again, USA disowned him. Again, he faced this final days very bad. But think about today. Today, every newspaper is quoting Osho's quotation. And again, anybody wants to thought or wants to initiate a discussion or a thought process, we cite Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates. And again, think about not only art and literature. Think about Ramanujan. Ramanujan, now we have had a movie also on Ramanujan. We did not accept Ramanujan as a great mathematician. What went wrong with him? You only know. What went wrong not with him, with the society. We were not ready to accept any genius of any kind, whether it is literature or mathematics. Otherwise, let's say it has happened with Newton also. Think about Newton. Newton, what happened to Newton's philosophy, right? Newton's law. Then think about Darwinian theory. Darwinian theory, it is not just easy to say with the established society a different opinion. Let's say the creativity theory established by thousands and thousands of years. The church said creativity theory, God created. Let there be light, light came. Let there be sun, sun came. Let there be moon, moon came. Let there be planet Earth, Earth came. And God only created human beings from women. That's why women are the best. Who are the best? Men are the best and women are the best. And that is also coming again. We talk about what? We talk about feminism. And you see how this is emanated and how it is being portrayed by different authors, different writers, because everybody wants to have their rights, human rights. We see the thing. Then again, we go back to Darwinian theory. When Darwin was telling against the current, going against society, it was not well received. But the same thing, you go to the Vishnu temple, you find that how from one cell amoeba, how the data is taken. That's why we call Narayana. Narayana is a What does it mean? Narayana means from water everything has come. That's why when it is Indian culture, when somebody comes to our house, we first offer water. Why we offer water? We are made up of 5 elements. In our body, we have all the 5 elements. Water, then first mud. That's why in the Bible they say, Mandil Piradai, Mandil Marit Kadavai. What is it? You are born from the earth. You are going to go back to the earth. That's why people smear what? White ash. Getting what I am telling? Because we are nothing. The great Alexander said, we are born with nothing. We came with the nothing, born with nothing, we are going with nothing. That's why keep both the hands outside my this process. During the process in the sea, he wanted his hands to be seen by the people of the world. The greatest Alexander went without nothing, otherwise carrying nothing. That's what the thing. So every philosopher, because every saying face the thing. Now we will go back to this what is that Darwinian theory. Darwinian theory was not well received. Imagine what an amount of agony, pain, and trauma and torture that particular Darwin would have gone to. Same happened with the Vallabh. Nobody would have accepted when everybody was worshipping idols, and idol worshipping was prominent, and the feeling was prominent. Nobody was ready to accept what Vallabh So I'm shutting the door. That is what he said. Please understand. But we celebrate Vallabh. Now the government of Tamil Nadu is celebrating 200th birthday of Vallabh. This is what the tragedy, otherwise the irony of any of the writers, greatest of the greatest possible. This is what exactly there is a mismatch, a disconnectivity between the people of the present day and their thought processes, and again the acceptance comes always 200 years later, very 500 years later, very thousands of years later. We accept Bible as the best of the best book of this world, because you take for example the character thinking, the storytelling, the narrative, the entire literature is written literature is owed to the Bible story, and again the church. There only people were groomed to tell stories and learn to write literature, whether it is Thakur, otherwise the Thakur, you see, what we have the Thakur in literature, exactly, the pilgrimage. We have pilgrimages here in down south. People from down south Kanyakumari to Kashmir, they come for this Haridwar. From Haridwar, people come to down south Kashi. You see, these are all the things which we have in the social reality, but nobody has captured this thing. But it takes always time to understand, time to realize the facts, because we also grow. The world is also growing along with us. That is how things are uh, done in the real social reality. That's what the society. You have to know always check with the society how good that we are, and again what kind of life we live. Are we accommodative, inclusive? Otherwise, we respect the other people. Let's say our neighbors. That's what Bible beautifully says. Love thy neighbor as you love thyself. See the thing. பகைவனுக்கும் வருவாய் நன்னெஞ்சே. Who's telling? Bharatiya is telling. Don't think that you can't have. See, we don't have that kind of literature in Tamil. Otherwise, in our mother tongue. Not necessarily in Tamil. We have Malayalam literature, Kannada literature. Malayalam literature has depicted all the Adivasi communities. You might wonder, they have beautiful poems, dance, and art, artifacts, everything. Don't think only tribal culture is there in Assam, Odisha, and other northeastern states. No, not at all. Our own Adivasi communities are here very much. Now you go to Jawad Hills. Otherwise, here in what is Jawad Mali, you have people. They have their own culture, their own tradition, their own way of worshiping things, and their own language. You go to Goa, you have Konkani. Then again, other than Konkani, you have their Tulu language, which does not have the script, but they have beautiful way of living, their own culture, their own ethnicity. That's what. But are we accommodating? That's what we say political hegemony, social hegemony, like this. Not only this. Let's say not only this suppression is there within us. That's what. So we have to go beyond all these let's say hurdle, and we have to live with a great humanistic compassion. That's what most important thing is. Ultimately, it will come to this one. See, mercy, pity, peace, and love. You see the thing. And again, there is an interesting point which says, books are lovely, dark and deep. Minds will go before I speak, You know that writer Robert Frost is beautifully written. It's there on the, what is that tale of Java? It was there on the thing of Java. Then again, you see why he was telling that kind of thing. This long way to go. Anything you say today will not be accepted. Say for example, you write a thesis and submit, nobody will accept. They will say they will defend. No, whatever you said is wrong, right? Written is wrong. When originally say for example, gadgets are. Think about a gadget when Apple CEO, this he said he wanted computer, then again the multimedia, then the keyboard, then again the screen, everything in my hand. Smartphone. Originally nobody was ready to accept the concept of the smartphone. Now you see what is that we have. We have used what that is what this is something like the birth. See, brain set up the visionary thought. That is how all the culture is defined. So now you see the refinement, the development and the growth and development in the field of communication, especially telecommunication. What has happened? See, 50 years back how it was, 30 years back how it was, today how it is. Where are we? That is how every culture is evolving. Let us understand this thing. Whether it is Indian writing English, otherwise British writers in English, let's say Juba Lahiri, say for example Salman Rushdie, all are our friends and all are our blood relations, I would say. Physically we are different, and again with the continents we are different. We live in different continents, we live in different villages, different towns and cities. But whereas we are all one, we are all from one. That is what that oneness, which that once the oneness comes in, we feel and care for the fellow human being. That only humanism evolves. Otherwise, it blooms, we can say. That's what. That is how we have to live and lead our life with compassion. That's what you see. There is a beautiful thing called this. Literature, in the literature it is cited. Exactly the birth of ego literature and criticism, you see. When we care for the without human being, we call it humanism. When we care for the nature, it is something beyond beyond human. That is what we call spirituality. We one with the nature. That is what the entire religion is going towards now. That is, there is a unification of science and the spirituality. Both are coming together because these are the two sides of the same coin. Let's say we say spirituality, we don't want means. Then one side of the coin, is it accepted? One side of the coin is accepted in the society? No. The other side of the coin is also essential, equally essential. That's what the whole world is heading towards now. So slowly and gradually, the entire humanity is going towards the oneness. That's what you find. All the boundaries are meaningless. All the nations and boundaries and the differences are meaningless and it's useless. That's what the greatest of the greatest philosophers are telling. Suppose somebody is met with an accident, whose blood it is transfused? Tell me. Otherwise, somebody needs O positive. Otherwise, they need A plus positive, A positive blood. Who's giving? You know that? By then we don't see whether it is Muslim blood or Christian blood or Hindu blood. We want blood only. This is an example. You get me what I am telling? That is where this oneness is engaging. So let us again revisit the stories. Stories of Mahabharata. Don't ever think that Mahabharata was told only by the Valmiki, someone by the oldest of the oldest people. Let's say those days. Now we have wonderful revisiting, otherwise retelling of Mahabharata and Ramayana story. You find the Ramayana story that are wonderfully is now let us we have people like characters like Urvi. Yesterday we had sessions. Urvi and again Super again. Everything is we are taking a relook at the characters of Mahabharata, then again Ramayana. It is happening. It is not that only Valmiki story. Then we have again Rajaji who has written Mahabharata and Ramayana. Now we have recent Mahabharata stories being told by the latest writers. Bhavani Bhattacharya. Then again, we have Amitav Ghosh. Then again, we have people like now you see corporate people tell the stories. Indra Nuli and such people they use the caricatures and small stories and tell the corporate tales. It is called corporate tales. They use these corporate tales to teach leadership quality. Please understand. So literature is taking one step, going one step beyond. It doesn't stop in cultural diversity, it doesn't stop in paper and pen. Otherwise, in the classroom discussions alone, it's going beyond. Then leadership qualities are taken. Otherwise, problem solving disciplines are taken. Problem solving techniques are taught by using this kind of literature, stories, poetry, then prose, then again dramas, then again characters. All these things are used so very beautifully and everything is intertwined and again used for the betterment of the humanity. Let us go into the writings of again this international scenario we see for. Let's say Ukrainian war. What is that scenario? Because Ukraine is the best field for what? Wheat. It is now. Let's say Tanjavur family. What is it? We have paddy like the war is meant for what? For the hegemony. I want to have the control of the entire Ukraine because the entire wheat merchandise. I want to know. That is the control that Russia wants to have on Ukraine. Ukraine is again. Russia is having what? Potential to sell oil, then food, everything. Then again, this is how the war is defeated, and again, war is happening. That is how. But Ukraine, as a nation, they want their own self-identity. You know that our own brother, if we fight with the brother, what he will say? Who are you? Why are you fighting? Think about as a nation, they will have their own. That is where the respect, mutual respect for the fellow
तो
human
भैया
being.
बाद में अभी
Otherwise, the people of the family, the neighbors, and the village, and the society, where we
इतना
help
पानी लाने
others,
के लिए
otherwise when
बोलना
we respect others, things will be wonderful. So let us understand this concept also. It is humanism as a whole, whether it is for the individual or the family or the society. What is interesting and what is important is this humanism, fellow human, that love, the mercy. Then again, caring for the fellow human being. One step beyond caring for the nature, then the climate, then again the non-living things. That is how these things are not new. Let us understand. Let us please have a better level of understanding of this oneness, which means that is where the spiritual literature comes in. The spirituality, in the spirituality there is no polarity. We say duality. That is let's say the form and the form. The form means உருவத்தை காண்பவன் மனிதனடா உள்ளத்தை காண்பவன் இறைவனடா. That is the song by what is that Kannadasan. Why he is telling ordinary people
चांदनी
he differentiate. This is Saravana, this is Tanmay, and this is he is a professor, he is a like this. What do we do? We actually see by their profession, otherwise physicality of the thing. Whereas the spiritual people, what they see? They see the spirit.
और इसके अंदर
That
है
is
इसको
where the
ले लिया
differentiation comes in. Then this is what
कल वाले कपड़े कहाँ रखे हैं?
eco-criticism. Then again, feminism. Otherwise, fighting for let's say that is
इसकी रबड़ भी थी ना
what not. Everything is
नहीं ब्लू कलर की इसकी रबड़
the
भी थी
expression of the
बाहर
mind.
रखी हुई है
So
तो
that is what.
पानी से नीचे
What
दिखाना
we
है
need to understand how this is what is the source, how it has evolved, how it has come. We need to go in deep into the thing. Whether it is spirituality, spiritual literature, otherwise, let's say caricatures like cartoons, otherwise, let's say the stories, novels
थोड़ा
like
सा डॉल के साथ सर्फ भी डालती है ना इसके कपड़ों में
mythology, myth-making, like
इसके कपड़ों में
Ramayana,
सर्फ डालती है ना
otherwise, even writing,
अनफिट वाला ये
uh,
डॉल के साथ
the Bible literature, Dalit literature, the community sometimes
बहुत अच्छे से ना इसके कपड़े रगड़ के धोइए गंदे
they
हो
pass
गए
into what
ये इधर रुक जा
this
यहाँ पे बैठ
because the energy is there, they will fight for the community. The same thing goes with the
ये
LGBT
नीचे
community,
दिखा
transgenders. Are we not having no literature on all these aspects? You see, then Murugan, Perumal Murugan has written no what is being there. Social reality is depicted in the Tamil. Now it has become no super duper hit, which means the whole world has understood the reality, what is being deprived, the power, the recognition, power,
ये बोल कि
and
बाबू के पास चल जाओ
what not. Everything is deprived from the certain community that has been depicted wonderfully in the Perumal Murugan writing that has been translated into so many languages.
चांदनी
Same goes with the
छोटे भैया के वहाँ पे ना बादाम का तेल होगा छोटी शीशी में वो लेके आइयो
We have wonderful Malayali
कुछ नहीं
with the Adivasi community and other things that are being pictured. Then again, we go for let's say feminism, poem. See, we have beautiful poems and written stories of being written, and novels are being written. Everything is getting translated into the other languages. So this is how the entire gamut of literature is evolved. Whether it is poetry, prose, then again drama. Think about. We go little far. Let's say British literature. In the British literature, if you take let's say in the older British literature, we find that Shakespeare's drama. But think about Bernard Shaw. He lived so very long, more than what Shakespeare could write, and he made the entire social transformation during his days. Please understand this one. What kind of writer was he? What and all he fought for? Presenting ordinary car girl and making her as a princess by the Dutch and Duchess and presenting in the ball. Then think about what kind of emancipation a language training makes. That is where the importance of English language comes. Please know That is where the ignorance, once we say no, ignorance is bliss, but once we transcend the ignorance by becoming aware of, that is also a concept. Even the flower girl, whatever we speak, that is also a concept. That has to be accepted. You see that flower girl is using what? The kind of language which is accepted by her family. The same flower girl, once she is presented after the training by Professor Higgins, then you see that flower girl is blooming with what? And she is rubbing shoulders with the externality. Absolutely it is possible. That is what one set of deprived people, another set of externality. One with the power, one with the deprived of power. Then again, once we understand all these things, then you see we are all one. Only thing is by certain limitations, we are all now it is something like in different packets. When everything is put together, then we become a whole humanity. Whole humanity is one. That kind of understanding will come. It is very good. It is going to happen. That's why we find UNESCO and all these things. Now we have recently had Women's Day. What does it tell? What does it tell? See, whoever you suppress, they will definitely come up. That is the beauty of the nature. Nothing can be controlled by the other species, otherwise other people, fellow human beings. Please understand. We have to give the due respect to women and respect them, and in fact, we have to give more respect. We give more respect to the women folk than the man folk. That is what the nature can do, because everybody is given by the women. That's why we have the cult point of Paramarti, all these worship and all. Please understand. So let us go back to the original topic. What is that? Cultural diversity and the social reality. Cultural diversity is there very much. Whether it is individual, otherwise, whether it is other, cultural diversity is there very much. And how to see this one crucible. Best example is crucible. What is done for a woman and what is done for the what is done for our family, and exactly depicted in the crucible. You see the same only same kind of feelings only depicted by R.K. Narayan, otherwise people are writing interpreter. Otherwise you take for the example of what is the love, otherwise pattern one has as a father. That is what is there in the Jawaharlal Nehuru's writing. And same goes with the Indira Gandhi's writing. Beautiful writings. Indira Gandhi. How a daughter can write pour her heart out to a father. That's what Indira Gandhi's writing is. Then think about political writing. Now we have Chetan Bhagat, canvas now. Then again think about the latest people like our Thiruvananthapuram's MP. Who is the Thiruvananthapuram's MP? Shashi Tharoor. See the language. He is making a connect between the oldest form of English and the latest form of English. He is making a kind of different. He accepts that is what this kind of realization we need to have. And again, we are aiming for an inclusive society, accepting all the genders, whether it is LGBT, otherwise transgender. There is no disparity. Human, see, we are all human. That is how we have to accept. We have to grow. Thank you everyone for this kind of understanding that I have put forward to your thought process. It is a thought process. It's whatever came spontaneously to my mind. I wanted to connect everything in bits and pieces and present it before this August gathering. Thank you everyone for your passionate hearing and wonderful opportunity given by this Pepperdine University. And I especially thank Professor Kadadasan and Professor Ramachandran for their support and kind gesture. Thank you everyone. Have a great day.
We request Dr. S. Neelamati, S. Lecturer, Department of English, to introduce the speaker.
Professor Elizabeth Kabali, who is the Associate Professor of English Professor at the University of Toronto. She is the author of 4 monographs, a volume on the figure of diplomacy in British and American literature 2000, and an introduction to British and Bangladeshi literature 2005.
Madam, good morning. Can you hear me?
Not very well, but I can hear something. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
An analysis of the Roman grammar and methodological subject of 2016. In 2006, she published the first Italian translation of poems by Maria Mazzacchia. Between 2001 and 2023, she edited collated 15 collections of essays, special forum of the journal of transnational and radio studies 2005. In 2022, she co-edited a special resource journal. Journal of Post-Colonial Literary and Gender Studies, March 2022. And she acted as guest editor for a special journal of American Study of Turkey. JSC focused on Italian and American material culture, released in 2023. She has just translated her work by Ellen Wood for the first time in Italy. Welcome you for the plenary session.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, now we can start, ma'am.
Yes.
Please.
Yes, I can hear you. So thank you very much for the very generous introduction, and good morning or good afternoon, everybody. It's very early in the morning in Italy, but I'm really pleased to be here with you. So first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for the kind invitation. It is always a pleasure to be in India, whether in flesh or virtual online. So, as the topic of the conference is cultural diversity and social reality, I think that a very important topic in modern day literature is exploring migrant lives. And this is what I will be trying to do in my talk. I will be trying to explore the migrant lives and the lives of non-documented migrants in the narrative of 2 contemporary British writers with a mixed background, Monica Ali and Sanjeev Sahota. So, as an introduction, I will first of all delve into the theoretical framework that I will use. I will draw, for example, on Judith Butler's works, and then I will provide you with some kind of textual analysis of the 2 works, contextualizing the works within the production of the 2 writers. So let me start. We have, at least in Italy, for example, the tragic images of refugees that are flying from the horrors of the civil war, and the plight of migrants and asylum seekers who are drowning in the Mediterranean Sea or are lost at sea, as countries, including Italy, unfortunately, refuse to open ports and provide shelter, are broadcast almost daily in the media. Yet, in this general turmoil of the global refugee crisis, the individual stories are, with rare exceptions, rarely heard. They are concealed and sanitized behind the accuracy of figures and statistics, reflecting the exact numbers of casualties and survivors. Literature has somehow contributed to fill in this major void. So literature has an important task, a crucial task, that task of locating firm footing in the wild rapids of this time. And I'm here quoting Christopher Schaberg, who has recently published a work entitled The Work of Literature. So the responsibility is that of sharing and stating the unspoken, thus raising awareness of what lies behind the shocking pictures published in the newspapers or the distressing footage on television news. So what is happening now with the refugee crisis is everything that happened in the past in the Indian subcontinent during partition. So the idea that literature, even in the case of partition, is contributing to filling a void, a silence that for too long wrapped and enveloped and shrouded the individual stories of the people who suffered the partition and now the refugee crisis. In an essay written in 1985 on Günter Grass, Salman Rushdie had already identified the migrant as, quote, the central or defining figure of the 20th century. And more than 30 years later, Monica Ali and Sanjeev Sahota, two writers whose families originally came from the Indian subcontinent, have devoted intense efforts to casting light on the personal ordeals of migrants, whose vicissitudes have been pieced together and reinvented by them by lending a compassionate ear to first-hand accounts and handed-down stories, while carefully reviewing the available sources of information, which are normally biased. So I will focus on two of their novels, namely In the Kitchen, published in 2009 by Monica Ali, and The Year of the Runaways, published in 2015 by Sanjeev Sahota. And in these two works, the two writers have focused their attention on illegal migrants and informal workers whose uncertain and vulnerable existence has been finally exposed without oversimplifications and the usual biases and distortions, because at least in Italy, people are afraid of migrants. And sometimes I feel that we have a short memory, because the Italians were the first who emigrated abroad, who emigrated to America. And now the Italians are being biased against immigrants coming from Syria, coming from the north of Africa. So there is a paradox going on. But let me explore the critical, the scholarly framework of my analysis. In Frames of War, published in 2009, Judith Butler explains the difference between two intercepting concepts of precariousness and precarity. Precariousness denotes this general ontological condition that we all share, the fragility that is inherent in human life. We are human, so we are supposed to die eventually. On the other hand, precarity indicates, and I'm now quoting from Butler, that politically induced condition in which certain populations suffer from failing social and economic networks of support and become differentially exposed to injury, violence, and death. End quote. So precarity is therefore primarily experienced by the people who are disenfranchised, by the people who are poor, marginalized, even though, as Butler has recently pointed out, it has turned into, quote, a new form of regulation, or we may be tempted to add, a new hegemonic regime that distinguishes this present historical time. So, in a way, precarity has been normalized, even glamorized, because, for example, in Italy, they tell you that you don't have to pursue a steady position, because steady position brings with it boredom, the fact that you have to repeat your work all over and over again. But in actual fact, if you are precarious, if you don't have a steady position, you cannot plan anything in your life. You cannot start a family, you cannot buy a house. And therefore, this glamorization of the concept of precarity is extremely dangerous. And it has been enforced by our neoliberal society, the neoliberal world that we live in. So, a new class has emerged, the precariat, a term that mixes the idea of precarity with proletariat. And according to Guy Standing, migrants, who, in his opinion, are the light infantry of global capitalism, while forming a large share of the world's precariat, are actually in danger of becoming the primary victims, demonized and made the scapegoat of problems which they have not created. Especially illegal migrants, in fact, are willing to accept significantly lower wages and poorer working conditions. Every day there are illegal migrants that die because of the poor working conditions. Moreover, they cannot claim any rights to health care, nor are they enlisted to occupational benefits, such as sick pay, maternity leave, severance pay, or even pensions. They are not real citizens, but denizens, which is a word that was used in the Middle Ages to indicate permanent residents who did not enjoy political and socio-economical rights. Or even worse than denizens, they are margisans. So people who have no permanent residence, and they are underprivileged because they are marginalized. So, in Guy Standing's view, the illegality of non-documented workers is exploited by the employers to their advantage. They are cheap, unpretentious labor, easily blackmailed if recalcitrant, and instantly replaceable. Because obviously, if you are not willing to do the job, you can be replaced instantly with another person who will be more than willing to do it because he's too poor and he's starving and he needs financial security, which will not be acquired through this kind of job, but at least it will be better than nothing. Now, let's move into the two novels. Monica Ali's debut novel was in 2003, and she became internationally famous because of a novel entitled Brick Lane, which explored the grim life of British Bangladeshi migrants in Spitalfields, which is an area of London, of the East End of London, which is now known as Banglatown. So she had already delved into problems of migrants, but in the Kitchen, which is the novel I will be talking about, illegal immigration is the focus of her narrative. Illegal immigration and human trafficking, which is another aspect of this global dangerous phenomenon. Let me tell you something about Monica Ali. She was born in Dhaka in 1967, of Eastern Pakistani father and an English mother. So she is mixed blood. And she moved to Manchester in 1971 when the war that would lead to the birth of Bangladesh started. Monica Ali has always been viewed by critics and scholars as somebody who could really speak for the communities, even though the communities did not accept that, because Monica Ali did not live in Banglatown. She has a university education. She graduated in Oxford. So she was privileged, but yet she felt that she had to cast light on the hidden life of the submerged Bangladeshi communities in London. She is still considered as a Brick Lane writer, despite both her later achievement and also the controversy on the authenticity of her work. But she somehow justified herself, and she said, I am in the middle. I am British, but I am also Bangladeshi. I have access to two worlds, and probably my position allows me to see things that the other cannot see. And I'm going to quote her words. She said in a 2003 interview to The Guardian, standing neither behind closed doors nor in the thick of things, but rather in the shadow of the doorway is a good place from which to observe. So she tries to give her contribution, her social contribution. So shifting from the stifling environment of London Banglatown, the writer's eye has actually embraced a much wider cultural horizon in the kitchen. In order to craft the suspended life of these illegal migrants, she documented herself. She read a lot of books, which she quotes in the acknowledgement section of her text. She wrote books on contemporary slavery, on human trafficking and forced labor. So she tried to merge fiction with reality, because sometimes fiction can cast light on reality, as I said. And the book that she published was particularly interesting because at the time when she wrote the narrative, victim-based legislations and measures had not been introduced yet in England. Such as, for example, the 2015 Modern Slavery Act, demanding more transparency from companies operating in the UK and their commitment to eradicating modern forms of slavery from their supply chains. So the novel is set in contemporary London. I will give you a brief outline of the novel so that you can follow me better. The novel chronicles the progress of a white executive chef. So she writes from the perspective of a white person in his early 40s, whose name is Gabe Lightfoot. And he passes from being thoroughly indifferent to the trials and tribulations of the migrants that toil under his orders in the kitchen of an hotel, the Imperial Hotel, to becoming increasingly aware of their vulnerability. So it's a kind of Bildungsroman that chronicles the progress of a white man who is insensitive at first and then becomes even too sensitive to these problems. Once confronted with the impotent fragility of the precariat, who is stripped of dignity and essential human rights, Gabe responsibly abandons his project of starting his own restaurant because he doesn't want to feed this system. He doesn't want to feed the very monsters of abuse and exploitations that are inevitably connected with any business venture. So his newly acquired sense of solidarity and sympathy is what makes the previously overlooked ethical encounter with the other possible. And by ethical encounter, I'm quoting Judith Butler here. So this series of reflections are actually triggered by the unexplainable death of a Ukrainian porter, Yuri, which actually accidentally occurs in the basement of the hotel where he secretly lives. So this death triggers a series of other events and reflections that make Gabe realize that he cannot possibly be part of this sick and toxic system. So, in her narrative, Monica Ali is at pains to depict the collective feelings of precariousness, insecurity, and impermanence that characterizes modern life. For example, she speaks about the cotton mills in the north of England that are closing down. She provides a description of historical places that have been replaced by short-lived shopping malls. And she also describes a widespread atmosphere of fear because terrorist attacks, the possibility, the eventuality of terrorist attacks is always impending. And people are suspicious of one another. People are not friends with one another because as soon as you see somebody that looks different from you, you instantly think, this might be a terrorist. I might be very careful. I have to keep myself far away from this person. And the very hotel where most of the story is set is the emblematic icon of present-day transient. The fact that Monica Ali chose to set her story in an hotel is not a mere coincidence or a chance. She's thought very deep into it. A hotel is some kind of contradictory space in which basically dwelling and traveling overlap. It's familiar because it aims at recreating the familiar environment, but at the same time it is alien because it's not your own space. So it's a liminal space that well fits the story where liminal lights are explored. So the hotel was also founded in the Victorian age, an age of crass exploitation. It is called the Imperial Hotel, so that the reader can be reminded of the imperialistic logic of exploitation. And the kitchen of the hotel is therefore mentally equated by the writer to a Victorian workhouse. Where, food is produced to be consumed by wealthy white people, but we are under the impression sometimes that they are not just eating food, they are just cannibalistically eating people. The kitchen turns into a place where immoral recipes are prepared. And I am quoting here a work by Sager and Hamden. This is a place where hellish things happen, where, even human flesh is selected, seasoned, glamorized to be devoured by cannibalistic customers. Even the highly commended sustainability of organic food production actually reveals its disquieting side when Gabe, the protagonist, realizes that in the effort to contain costs without lowering the quality of products, only illegal migrants are hired to work there. So that, you can exploit the immigrant workers so that you can have beautiful organic food at a decent price. There are a lot of prejudiced comments that are explored in the text. There is a lot of racial discrimination going on. Monica Ali's portrayal of the racialized other is very complex and very subtle. The position of every member of Gabe's kitchen, which are called in the text a pirate crew, coincides with what Giorgio Agamben has defined homo sacer. I will explain to you what an homo sacer is. Basically, in the ancient Roman law, a man who had crossed certain lines was banned from the community and deprived of all rights. And consequently, what Agamben calls nuda vita, bare life, can be taken by anybody. without legally committing any murder. Even though could not be sacrificed because these people are considered to be accursed. They are not blessed, so they cannot be used for sacrifice. So immigrants are exactly in the same position. They have crossed the borders of geography and legality, and they are therefore perceived as homines sacri. They dwell in what we may call an ethical twilight zone, where they are granted no protection, even if their very existence is at stake, for the very reason that their existence is deemed less valuable, deficient, marred, so they are not considered equal. So the immigrants actually live in what Monicali calls the catacombs. They live in the basement, lurking, hidden in the basement of this huge hotel. The catacomb is an evocative epithet that recalls the concept of secrecy, persecution, martyrdom, and of course, Agamben's nuda vita. You know that in the catacombs, the first Christians used to hide in order not to be killed by the Roman emperors. So basically, even the relationship Gabe tries to establish with other people before his epiphanic moment in which he realizes that these people are exploited are cannibalistic relationships. For example, when he dates Lina, who is one of the girls that work in the kitchen, he says, okay, I will provide for you, I will feed you, I will clothe you, but you have to be basically my sexual slave. So he is part of this logic of exploitation. Lina's only defense against annihilation, both mental and physical annihilation, is telling stories. So it's Lina that actually opens up a new, disquieting, disturbing world to Gabe. So she tries to make Gabe aware of everything that is happening. She's trying to challenge Gabe's indifference. So she provocatively lingers on the appalling vicissitudes of the countless women with no name who share the same underworld where she used to live. For example, she speaks about a prostitute from Moldova who went to the police trying to find help, and she was questioned. She was considered not the victim of persecution, but the offender, and therefore she was even repatriated. She also speaks about a Romanian girl who had been turned into a sexual slave by an English pimp. Then she speaks about a lot of disturbing happenings of other people, and Gabe cannot possibly continue to be as indifferent as he had been up until that moment. So he uncovers the story. In the text, Lina does what Monicali, by writing this novel, is doing to the general readership. She's raising awareness of something that is not normally known. Monicali's efforts to emphasize the humanity, the dignity, and the worth of an invisible or demonized migrants, especially if illegal, are coupled with their intention to offer insights into the inner workings of neoliberal policies and practices. There are a lot of passages in this novel in which neoliberal practices are exposed in all their crass injustice and in all their horror. the employer of Gabe speaks of people as if they were cattle. If one dies, it can be easily replaced. They have to be exploited. And he speaks about these horrible things as if they were the most normal happenings in anybody's life. So Monica Ali is also trying to make the reader sensitive to these issues by showing the indifference of our protagonists. The reader is shocked, but the reader somehow acknowledges the fact that he or she, himself or herself, has acted in the same way on many occasions. Because when we see in Italy on television all the migrants drowned in the Mediterranean, we may change channel. Instead of thinking that they were human beings like we are, they decided to start their journey because they wanted to have better opportunities, the way we all try to have better opportunities for us and for our children. So this text is very, very important for this very reason. But now let me move very quickly, since I only have other 15 minutes, to Sanjeev Sahota. Sanjeev Sahota is the other writer who came from a Punjabi family. And his family settled in Derbyshire. His father settled in Derbyshire. He acquired a degree in mathematics, worked in the insurance business. So he is not a writer who was born as a writer. He decided to approach writing as a way to process things that were disturbing in his own life. For example, in some of the interviews, he recalls the moments in which, when he was traveling back to India, he would travel sitting side by side with an unknown person, and they would start to chat like we normally do when you are on a plane and it takes long to get to your destination. And he would learn all the details of these horrible, harrowing experiences that illegal migrants used to live. So people who are traveling back because they had been kicked out of the country after being exploited, or people who were trying to go back because their mother or their father were sick, and they were really concerned because they did not know whether they would be allowed in England again. So he becomes sensitive to pain, and he decided to explore this pain in his novel entitled The Year of the Runaways, which is focused on 4 protagonists. Tochi, who is a Chamar, so a Dalit sub-community, and he arrives illegally in England after the slaughter of his family by a group of nationalists. Then there is Aftar, who emigrated with a student visa that he had to pay for, so through bribing. And then there is Randeep, who enters into a scam marriage with a British national with a Punjabi background, just to be entitled to set in the UK. So the protagonists are really desperate people who are trying their best to make a living and to live a dignified life and to send remittances to their families back home, which is something that every migrant tries to do. So The Year of the Runaway is another poignant and really eye-opening novel. We get to know the details of the individual stories of the 3 protagonists. We know, for example, that one of them had sold a kidney to be able to afford the ticket to go to the UK. We also know that bodies, their bodies, the body of illegal migrants, are somehow interchangeable and easily replaced, even with cheaper specimens, if profit margins can be increased. For example, Tochi, who is the chamar, can take the place of anybody else in the shop where he works, because as a chamar, he sells his labor power for half the price. So what Sanjeev Sahota is trying to explain is that the same differences that he was trying to flee from when he was living in India are duplicated in England. So, I mean, he cannot escape from his condition. He was a chamar and he will always be a chamar. He was exploited and he will always be exploited. Characters are equated either to production machines or beasts of burden. And in this context, even the immigrants' sense of time and space, which are supposedly fixed categories. We know that space is a space, it's tangible, and time, even though there are time differences from country to country, the time is fixed, time is measured. But even this is profoundly altered. As the title of the novel suggests, the year of the runaways is simply different in the way it is perceived and articulated, and I'm going to explain to you. We have successions of seasons. Now today in Italy, and I think all over the world, is the first day of spring. So spring, summer, autumn, winter. So there are seasons that succeed one another. For the migrants, the succession of seasons passes almost unnoticed. If it were not for the winter, the British winter, which is extremely cold, the only time of the year everyone pays the utmost attention to is the so-called raid season, when police checks intensify and the chance of being caught and repatriated by the authorities increases dramatically. So holidays and time off, which we all look forward to, are different also for the migrants, because, I mean, if there is a holiday, the holiday is not something to look forward to, because if there is a holiday, there is no work, there is no possibility of working. There is no wage, no daily wage. So they hate the holidays and they hate when they are off work. While if we have a permanent position, we love our holidays. Lastly, the speed of global traveling experienced by the social elite, because we are all social elite. I mean, if I want to go to India, I catch a plane and in 7 hours, I am in Delhi. But this is replaced with the lengthy and tortuous routes of the subaltern cosmopolitan. And this is a definition by Ruvani Ranashina. So the members of this shadow class are condemned to secrecy, invisibility, and perpetual drifting. So if an illegal migrant wants to move from, I don't know, from Syria to Italy, they don't simply catch a plane and in 5 hours are in Italy. They have to go all over the place in the most difficult manners, hidden inside trucks, risking their lives. So, I mean, everything is different. So there is also another issue that the writer focuses attention on, the issue of spatial inequality. And I am using a term used by political geographer Edward Soja. So the organization of space is such a critical aspect in human societies that justice and injustice are clearly detectable in it. Immigrants are separate and unequal, not separate and equal like in America during the Jim Crow laws regime. undocumented migrants have restricted access to urban infrastructures, healthcare, safe and hygienic working conditions and living conditions as well, which in any event are not evenly and equally distributed across the city. So one of the characters who is sick cannot go to hospital because he's illegal. He doesn't have the right to health care. And therefore, he has to pay a lot of money that he had hard earned and that he wanted to send to his family to be treated by an illegal doctor who doesn't treat him properly. So a problem creates another problem, and problems follow and generate from one another. Being a Margisan, he has no right to be treated. And, you know, he's trying to get a place in the world. He's trying to find a location where possibly to plant his new roots, but he cannot do it. He's perpetually drifting because if you are an immigrant, an illegal migrant, you don't simply go from one place to the next. You go from one place to the next, and then the next, and then the next, constantly drifting. Possibly it is not by chance that the volume ends in Kanyakumari. I don't know whether I pronounced it correctly, which is the southernmost town of India, which is mentioned and reimagined several times in the novel, while pointing at a map. So Kanyakumari is depicted as the symbolic end, physical end of the subcontinent, as an emblematically open space because it is surrounded by the sea, where a place where inequality and precarity that bind the global north and the global south together may ultimately cease to be. And I would like to quote a short passage from the text. I quote, Kanyakumari, the place of ends and oceans. It seemed amazing to Tochi is the Chamar, that there could be an end to India, one you could point to and identify and work towards, that things needn't go on as they are forever. So going back to India, going back to this very symbolic place where the oceans meet, where the fluidity of water implies that there are no barriers, no boundaries, no separations, become emblematic of what Sanjeev Sahota wishes for humanity, a world with no borders. To conclude, as one of the characters of In the Kitchen explains, and I'm quoting from the text, there is more truth in fiction than in fact. And I would really like to conclude my talk to you today by going back to where I started from, namely the work and the responsibility of literature and its relevance nowadays. So in an age characterized by fake news, populisms, alternative facts, post-truth, books such as Monica Alice and Sanjeev Sahota's are really entrusted with a tremendous responsibility. I believe that they have succeeded in restoring a clear and powerful voice to the people who have been silenced, while treating what is still nowadays the most dangerous and widespread disease, which hopefully one day, also thanks to this book, will find a cure. This disease is human indifference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us through your words. An attitude of gratitude helps us to know that every step forward is a step towards achieving something bigger and better than the current situation. We request Mr. K. Prakash, guest lecturer, Department of English, to propose a word of thanks.
Therefore, then our honor and privilege to have been allowed to extend our thanks on this auspicious occasion. On behalf of the Department of English, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guests. Dr. Saravanan, Associate Professor of English, Fellow Institute of Technology, and Elizabeth Mary, Associate Professor of English, University of Rome, who spared time from the busy schedule to raise the occasion. Today we had an opportunity to hear from their thoughts, and this will surely activate in our future events. I also want to thank all the participants for taking the valuable time out and ensuring their presence here. We feel enlightened and believe that we got to learn many things from this conference. Words will fall short of describing how much knowledge we could derive from this conference, the important networks we could create. Last but not least, I want to extend a good thanks for the organizing team and staff and the respective participants for making this conference so beautiful. I also cannot overlook the efforts of our volunteers and students who gave their best and worked dedicatedly for this conference. Once again, I would like to propose a thanks to all the speakers, scholars, and guests on behalf of the students and staff of the Department of English, Royal University, and all of you for becoming part of this conference in ways we cannot recognize. Best regards. Thank you.
Sir, participants are requested to have their lunch. Lunch is arranged outside of the auditorium. Please assemble back at the auditorium. Assemble back in auditorium at sharp at 2 p.m. for the live session. Thank you so much for your inspiring speech, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you soon in flesh, hopefully. Goodbye.